Hey Team Shuckle, what is up? Welcome back to another Wi-Fi battle. This one is again an LBA, Lithio Battle Association battle. It is post-commentary because I actually did this battle relatively late last night, or a couple of nights ago, because this is like 2 days later or whatever. And I was just too tired to really bother with recording, so I figured I'd do it post. So this is against Shadow Chew, Stars, Raheen. He goes by so many names, but he's definitely, again, one of the better battlers. And I came into this battle like kind of figuring that I would lose, simply because he's really good, and the only reason I beat him the last time was because he didn't max out his happiness on his Ditto. So I was able to take every hit he had, and I was able to win from there. But either way, we're gonna get into this battle. Now, I was looking at his team, and what I brought was, I thought, gonna be the best for his team. I sort of figured Togetic was going to be a bit of an issue, because I think they tend to lean on the special side, and outside of Rhydon, I didn't really have anything to hit it super effectively, and I didn't think Rhydon would really be able to stay in on Togetic for a while. So it was one of those things that I wasn't sure about, but we're going to get started on. I started with Gyarados because I figured, it has Taunt, it has Thunder Wave, it has Waterfall, it has Ice Fang. It can do some good damage to his team, so I figured that was my best bet. So he sends out actually Ditto in the beginning, and I was like, oh, this is not too bad. Because, I mean, he's copying my Gyarados, so the worst thing that he can do, really, is just Thunder Wave me. So I figured he'd expect the switch out into, like, say, Gengar or Heatran, or probably not Heatran, but probably something to take that. So I take this opportunity to actually switch out into my Fortress, which I recently traded with Kelly under the radar for my Skarmory. Just felt like trying it out. While it doesn't have the recovery as Skarmory does, it's not that bad. So in comes Raichu, and I was like, oh god, this thing can probably do a lot of damage to me. So I switch into my Rhydon to take the Thunderbolt, or the predicted Thunderbolt. And he actually goes for Hidden Power, so the way I was looking at that, I think that was Hidden Power Fire. There really would be no other reason to use a hidden Power on Rhydon that's on Fortress that's not very effective against Rhydon. So I figured it was. Now, I was debating whether or not to go for Drill Run here or Rock Slide. He did have the Togetic, which I was really expecting him to switch in. So I did go for the Rock Slide, but he actually chose the Garchomp, and it would have been a lot better of an idea to go for Drill Run. Now, in comes the Garchomp. Obviously, I don't really have too much with my Rhydon. I didn't want to take an Earthquake. I can take an Earthquake. I just really didn't want to. So I switched to my Gyarados, expecting the Earthquake, getting the Intimidate off. He does go for Rock Slide, and it does do a little bit more than I was willing to hope. But I do go for that Ice Fang on the switch in, but it does, like, no damage. And here I'm thinking, oh my god, this is going to be so bad. This is going to be so bad. But I figured, okay, so it's like kind of like a wall, right? And I'm going to outspeed it, so I'm going to taunt it. But then he goes for Ancient Power, and I was just like, oh, is this an offensive Togetic? Because it does a lot of damage. And it's like, oh, it's a crit. But then he gets the boost, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to do here? This thing is going to be like almost impossible to kill, and the only few things that I have are Gengar and Heatran. But the good news about that is, looking at that damage, that Ice Fang did, he's probably more physical. But I decided to bring in Rhydon here because I figured he was going to go for an Ancient Power. And he does, and of course, the second turn in a row, he gets the boost. Wow. So this thing is going to be almost impossible to KO. But I'm thinking he might actually switch out here because I'm a Rhydon, But obviously he didn't, so that was sort of a misplay on my part. So I go for Sub just to hope, But now I go for Rock Slide. Of course, he roosted, so it's not going to do a lot, and he's at +2 defense with that Eviolite. But the funny thing is it does about the same amount of damage. In fact, a little bit less than the Ice Fang. So I'm like, okay, he's at +2 and it's still doing that good. So if he doesn't roost, this should still do a decent chunk of his HP. And it does. So I'm feeling pretty happy. But the thing is, of course, I don't have HP to take another hit. So he's going for Dazzling Gleams and or Roost. So I figured my best bet is to switch into Heatran. Now that we know that he's fairly physically bulky, I think we can use this opportunity to knock him out with our Heatran, right? So he goes for Thunder Wave, and in this matchup it doesn't really matter because he seems to be faster than us, but we get paralyzed. And I'm like, oh my god, this is not happening. 2 Ancient Power boosts in a row, and I am paralyzed. But it just doesn't happen. I get the Flash Cannon off, and it doesn't do that much. And I'm like, I lost. There is literally no way for me to beat this thing. He keeps going for Ancient Power. I keep getting paralyzed. I can't really switch into my Gengar because he's not really going to go for Dazzling Gleam, really. And if he goes for Ancient Power, Gengar's pretty dead. But I figured right here, he was either going to go for Dazzling Gleam or Roost. And he does go for Dazzling Gleam, and I'm like, okay, good. Not going to take it well, but I do actually take it well. I take it a lot better than I thought I would. I go for Sludge Bomb, and look at that damage. Look at that. I don't know. I think Gengar is a lot stronger than Heatran, but I never really thought of that, you know? And plus, you know, I do have that Life Orb, so good. You know, I got him poisoned. He's so close to dying, but of course, my luck, he does paralyze me. Not that it was luck. I mean, like, I knew that was coming, and I just had nothing for it. But, you know, I'm doing good damage with this Sludge Bomb. I'm really happy with the way this is going. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, the Toxics can get more damage. But then I'm starting to realize, oh, this isn't, you know, badly poison. This is just regular poison. Oh, that's not good. But I keep going for the Sludge Bomb. I'm, like, doing good damage, but I'm really losing my Gengar here. I mean, granted, a paralyzed Gengar isn't the best Gengar in the world. You know, it's not going to be able to do very much. So I switch out here in favor of my Fortress, because I think Fortress can take some good damage here. And I'm thinking, you know, my best bet might actually be to start setting up hazards. And the reason I'm thinking that is because with the poison going, and him not really having too much for my Fortress, I have a very safe time to set up hazards. And I'm gonna need those hazards to win, because I need as much previous damage on his Pokemon as possible. So I figured, okay, he has Dazzling Gleam or Ancient Power. I really don't think either of those two are gonna do a lot of damage to my Fortress, and it doesn't. It really doesn't do that much, and I'm able to get up, like, everything. So my plan was to basically sack off this Fortress, get up Stealth Rocks, and then 3 layers of Spikes, and then Volt Switch out, doing some damage into my Gengar, who can then, because obviously Fortress is going to be a lot slower than Togetic, who can then finish it off with Sludge Bomb. And then everything else that comes in will be taking a lot of damage from the amount of layers. But it's coming to a point here where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get up all layers of Spikes. I might have to just Volt Switch out at one point. But it's not there yet. So the Dazzling Gleam goes off, and obviously the Dazzling Gleam is doing a lot of damage. And I think I'm at about 2 layers of Spikes. So I'm thinking, you know what? That's probably good enough. I think I'm going to Volt Switch out here, and then bring in my Gengar to hopefully finish off this Togetic. Unfortunately, he goes for Roost, and I really needed that 3rd layer of Spikes. And you'll understand that why later on in the match. But I really could have used that layer. So I do the Volt Switch. I go into Heatran. Now, the reason I go into Heatran is because he roosted, right? And both of his attacks are like basically resisted by Heatran. Heatran can take them a lot better than Gengar, so I do bring in the Heatran for that. And I'm just trying to get damage off, because now my plan has changed. He roosted, so he didn't take a lot of damage from the Volt Switch. Not that he really would have, but I think it would have been enough to put him in KO range from Sludge Bomb. So my plan now is to do enough damage combined with Heatran and Gengar, since Gengar's pretty much dead weight at this point since it's frail and paralyzed, that I can bring in my Pinsir and take it out with a quick attack. But of course, he does get another Ancient Power boost, like a ridiculous, that's 3 boosts in one battle. 3 boosts! That's ridiculous! So I'm just like losing my mind here, because I'm like, literally, I'm not even joking with you guys. I was sitting here contemplating forfeiting, because I just couldn't stand where this was going. I had no way to beat this Togetic. I had literally nothing. My Rhydon, who does a lot of damage, was only at 33 HP. My Heatran and Gengar are paralyzed. He had. I was just in such a bad place, you know, because he has Mega Gardevoir. I need Heatran for Mega Gardevoir. Now, granted, he could run Focus Blast, but I could take that pretty well, I think. So I'm just in such a bad position, and my Heatran goes down, and now I have to rely on Gengar to get this done. And I'm like, this is never gonna work. This is really never gonna work. So, of course, I bring in Gengar. He goes for Roost. He's faster than me. I mean, he's at +3 speed, and I'm paralyzed. But I go for the Sludge Bomb, and I'm like, we know it does a lot of damage, and then it just shoots down. And I'm like, what just happened? I got a crit! So, finally, the hacks kind of just turned around and was just like, yeah, we're done favoring you. You got a lot of stuff going for your team. Here's this. So he brings in Raichu, and it's taking a lot of damage, and I switch out my Gengar. I'm expecting him to go for Thunderbolt. Of course, even if he doesn't go for Thunderbolt, it's okay. Rhydon's dead anyway. He predicts that and goes for Surf. I figured I could possibly use Gengar for fodder later. I'd rather use that than Rhydon. No real reason, but only because also Rhydon had the chance of being immune to an attack. So I bring in Pinsir here. Now, I knew he was going to go for an electric attack, so I stay non-mega, and I go for Earthquake. Now, this is going to give me a +1, because obviously it's going to take it out. I think even at full HP, it would take it out. And here's my plan. His team is fairly weak to Pinsir, right? It's fairly weak. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm in a good position. But then he brings in Garchomp, and I calc it. Quick Attack cannot KO. This is why I needed that extra layer of spikes. But I have nothing to switch into. I could switch into my Gengar, but he's definitely going to go for Rock Slide. So I just go for Quick Attack anyway. I'm just like, I don't even care at this point. And I get a crit. And I'm like, yes. Yes. Now, I'm still kind of annoyed at the whole Togetic thing, but it's just, I'm finally glad that, you know, some luck is coming my way. So he brings in Ditto, and I'm like, this is what I was worried about. You know, this thing's probably Scarfed, right? So its Quick Attack's definitely gonna be faster than me. But I just go for Quick Attack anyway. And what happens? He's not Scarfed, so I beat the speed tie, so I take him out. And I'm thinking, what is happening? The entire time. There's 38 turns in this battle. And the entire battle, the majority of the battle, 28 turns, about, probably 30-ish, I actually was in a really, really bad losing position. Like, no joke. Really poor. For literally the majority of this battle. And all because of that Ancient Power boost. Because I had nothing for it. And then all of a sudden, all the luck just comes to me. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So really, that crit at the end against Garchomp really did matter. All of the hacks in this battle mattered. Without a doubt in my mind, it all mattered because it significantly changed the outcome of this battle. But against Garchomp is really where, against Garchomp and the speed tie beating against Ditto, I think it's like a 50-50, so it's really not truly hacks. You know, either one of us, if he got it, it would have been hacks against me. If I got it, it would have been hacks against him. But that one against Garchomp, I actually was trying for a crit. Not really trying for a crit, because like I literally, that was my only option. I had Rhydon. No, I didn't even have Rhydon. I had Gengar, who was paralyzed, which could do literally nothing. I had Fortress, which really probably could have taken attacks, but only has Volt Switch. That can't touch Garchomp at all, right? So I had like Heatran, which was really low on HP and easily beaten by Garchomp. So really, my only option was to go for that quick attack, and I got lucky. So while it is a win, and I'm very ecstatic to have this win, because I'm finally out of relegation. I'm like 10th in my division now, instead of like 12th. So I'm doing well now. I'm in a good position. But I really wish I didn't have to win like that, you know? It's just amazing to see how quickly things turned around, but to have to win because of hacks was just not great. But at the same time, you know, it really wouldn't have gone to that had his Togetic not gotten those boosts. You know what I'm saying? Had the Togetic not gotten those boosts, I probably would have been able to finish it off with Heatran, and Heatran doesn't really care too much about being paralyzed. So, all in all, I think it was hacksy on both ends, but if it wasn't, it would have still been a really good battle. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Peace.